Okay, there seems to be a number of words in the Bible which are under-translated. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about mistranslation, but rather a situation where the English word we use now simply doesn't convey the same depth and breadth of meaning that would have been understood if we had access to the original language and the original culture. Possibly the most significant of these under-translated words is the word we translate as peace. I'd like to dig into what we might be missing when we read passages in the Bible about peace. So, first of all, let's have a look at what we tend to mean when we use the word peace. The Oxford English Dictionary translates it like this:
freedom from disturbance, tranquility, mental or emotional calm, a state or period in which there is no war or a war has ended.
When Susan was a child, she used to ask her dad what he wanted for his birthday or for Christmas, and he would always reply, peace and quiet. She would then say, but Dad, what do you really want? To which he would simply reply, I really want peace and quiet. Frustrated by him at the time, I think now that Susan has children, she understands how he felt. We could all use a little more peace and quiet. But lack of war and a sense of quietness and calm is simply not enough of a definition to really get to grips with what the Bible is saying when it uses the word peace. The word peace is used in a number of different contexts throughout the Bible, and sometimes that is all it means. It means one of those things, but quite often there's more to it. So, time for a quick lesson in linguistics. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word we translate as peace is shalom. Shalom defies a one-word definition. It means
completeness, wholeness, perfectness, fullness, safety, soundness, welfare, quiet, tranquility, contentment, friendships with humans and with God, freedom from war, the absence of agitation or discord, rest and harmony.
Wow, that is a lot more than peace as we often understand it. Okay, so that's the New Testament references. So that's the Old Testament references. Let's try actually reading what it says on my sheet of paper. That's the Old Testament references, but what about all those references to peace in the New Testament, where the language of the authors changed? Well, the Greek word for peace, and excuse the pronunciation, is eirene, which means
a state of national tranquility, exemption from the rage and havoc of war, and peace between individuals, meaning harmony, concord, security, safety, prosperity.
Now that sounds slightly less broad than shalom, but in the context of a Jewish society, eirene was being used with the same meaning as shalom. They were reaching for the closest word in Greek. Okay, so if you're still awake, stay with me as we dip into Latin now. The Latin word we're interested in is pax. This is the root of the English word peace and was endowed with a similar meaning. However, the Roman approach to achieving peace was often about conquering and subjugating. This always, when I think about it, brings to mind a line in one of the first episodes of The West Wing. If you don't know The West Wing, it's a drama set in the White House in the States. President Bartlet is looking at military options after an American military plane has been shot down. And he's talking to his chief of staff, and he says these words.
You know that 2,000 years ago, a Roman citizen could walk across the face of the known world free of the fear of molestation. He could walk across the earth unharmed, cloaked only in the protection of the word civis Romanus. I am a Roman citizen. So great was the retribution of Rome, universally understood as certain should any harm befall even one of its citizens. Where was Morris's protection, or anybody else on that airplane? Where is the retribution to the families? And where is the warning to the rest of the world that Americans shall walk this earth unarmed, lest the clenched fist of the most mighty military force in the history of mankind comes crashing down on your house.
Unfortunately, in our society, it's often felt that the only way to bring about peace is to win, is to conquer. I've taken us to the extreme of the way the term peace has changed. But we've undoubtedly, along the way, lost much of the colour of that original shalom word. It's like we're watching in black and white. So let's try colouring up some of the familiar peace passages with some of the additional words which might be appropriate in the context they're written in. So, firstly, Numbers 6, 22 to 26.
The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons, this is how you're to bless the Israelites. Say to them, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you wholeness, soundness, welfare, tranquility and unity."
Matthew 5, 8 to 10.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are those who bring wholeness, peace and unity, for they will be called sons of God.
John 14, 26 to 27.
But the Counselor, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I have said to you. Wholeness I leave with you. My shalom I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid.
For me, switching from using the word peace to the word shalom has an incredible impact. The shalom that Jesus left with his disciples was a desire for wholeness. It deals with the spiritual. It deals with the mental. It deals with the physical. It's not a far-off thing. It's not something we can only get to in heaven, but rather a taste of heaven's completeness. Wholeness is something to strive for here on earth. So how can we really get God's shalom? I think we need to connect with God as our starting point. For some, this might be through regular Bible study and prayer times. Others might spend time meditating on a Bible verse, or climbing a mountain to connect with God through nature. That really does it for me. The mechanism is not the key issue, but connecting with the Holy Spirit is. We need to reorganise our thinking, to view ourselves, our friends, and our enemies through shalom-tinted spectacles. Those were the best I could manage. Are our values about promoting wholeness, peace, positive relationships? We need to take action to help bring shalom to people. We need to care for people's physical needs, contribute to making heaven on earth, to feed the hungry, clothe the poor, to weep with those who weep, and to stand with those who are persecuted. Or, to look at it another way, volunteer at food bank, become a street pastor, help a neighbour in need, join Amnesty International. The list could go on and on. We also need to have fun. God doesn't want us running around trying to make everyone else's lives whole while we make our own a misery along the way. We need to party. We need to celebrate. We need to live life to the full. That's part of the shalom thing. And finally, very much linked to that, I think we need to learn how to stop, how to be still, how to rest. Jesus took time out of his ministry, even though he was harassed for doing it by those around him. So, what we're going to do next is to take some time to be still, to rest, and to focus on God. To focus on his desire for shalom, for wholeness, and peace for you all, and for our hurting world.